Freedom of time is my ultimate goal, and because of that, I highly value both productivity and efficiency. That's also the reason I use Spotify for podcasters. You see, they make it insanely easy to record, produce, edit, distribute, and do anything else I need to for my podcast right from my desktop or even from my phone if I'm on the road. I also love that they've allowed you guys, the listeners, to interact with me through polls or sharing your thoughts and experiences on the topics that we discuss. Best of all, despite them offering all these cool services, it's 100% free, and you know what? They even pay me for simply telling you about it. If you have something to share, you want to start creating supplemental income while doing limited work, and you want to buy yourself some freedom of time as well, start now at www.spotify.com/podcasters or download the Spotify for Podcasters app. Trust me, you'll love it. One of the most common questions that I get is, Akil, how do I go about developing a trading strategy? Well, there's a lot you should be doing before you ever get to that point. But for those of you who are at that point, or for those of you who just like to think ahead, here are some tips on what you should do and even more tips on what you shouldn't do. So many hidden clues. The key of trading, in my opinion, is like, I think too many traders, and again, I don't, it's not easy by any means, right? It's difficult to find the edge, but I think too many traders complicate it by trying to do too much, where instead of looking at like, hey, I'm going to focus my strategy on this one thing, right? I'm going to focus my strategy on this one main thing. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a few little things to kind of complement it and make it stronger, right? But it's always focused on this one main thing, right? So for me, this is structure, right? I'm a structured trader. I've told you time and time again, everything in my trading is based around structure. If you look at my, aside from advanced pattern formations, right, that's an own kind of separate strategy, right? That's like the Walking Dead kind of side series. But structure is important for everything, right? Where I look to take trades, structure. Where stop losses are placed, beyond structure. Where are profit targets taken? At levels of structure, right? Structure. So structure is by far the main meal, right? The main course in my dinner. It is the entree. Everything else supplements it, right? So structure is the steak. I'm hungry, right? Can you tell? Structure is the steak, or for me, the salmon. I haven't had salmon in a while, so I'm about to get some today later. So structure is the salmon in my entree. And then everything else that I use, whether it's Fibonacci, whether it's volume, whether it's psychological numbers, whether it's the RSI, those are the fixings. Those are the side of asparagus. Those are the lemon Dijon sauce that's dripped over the salmon. Those are the grated Parmesan cheese to give it a little bit of a, right? But that's what makes the meal better than just a plain piece of salmon with no seasoning. What too many traders do is they have too many main courses. So instead of focusing on one thing and then finding things that complement it, they want to focus on a million different things. Like, and this is me earlier on in my trading career. I told you I shared a picture every year on Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it now. I don't want to go around saying I'm on X. I think people get the wrong idea, especially in the trading industry. Like, yeah, man, follow me on X. Like, you think I'm a drug dealer or stuff like that. Anyway, keep calling it Twitter. But of course, like every trader out there, I was deep diving, YouTube searching in indicators, and I kept finding all these indicators I liked. So every time I'd find an indicator I liked, I'd add it to my chart. So like, ooh, RSI. Actually, the RSI wasn't one of them, but it'd be like, ooh, MACD. Okay. Ooh, stochastics. Ooh, ADX. Ooh, CCI, right? And before you know it, I had like 6 indicators on my chart. And they were all the main course. Like there was no, one wasn't used for entries, one wasn't used for entries, right? Or exits. Now in my trading career, I know how to, even if you're using a bunch of indicators, I know how to set them up where you have your main indicator, then you have your filter, then you have your entry, then you have your exit, your trail, whatever it may be like that. But at the time, they were all the main course. So I had a plate, I had salmon, I had steak, I had pasta, right? I had all these main courses on my plate in front of me, and the flavors didn't really complement each other. They actually kind of contradicted each other. And one, I didn't really get to enjoy any of them. And it made for an awful meal. And I think so many traders make that mistake is like they get so excited. And like Bud said, it's hard to choose. It's hard to choose what you want to pick. But too many people pick too many things, and then they try to make all those things fit into the same thing. It's like bad chemistry in a sports team. It's like Chelsea, right? Chelsea Football Club, right? You got all these good players, and Chelsea bought a lot of good players. Everton's a poorer man's example of that. But Chelsea bought all these good players, but none of them really work with each other. And that's why the team sucks. They got all these good players, all these good signings. They spent bunches of money, but like there's no chemistry. They don't really complement each other. They're just a bunch of individual players that are out there. And it looks good on paper, but it doesn't actually benefit you in the game. So I think it's best to pick one main thing. What do you want to center your trading philosophy around? And then find the other things that complement that. And then, when you have the urge to trade something else right after you're consistently making bank with your main strategy, you got all the free time in the world to try other stuff. I can't tell you how many strategies I've failed with. Literally, I can't tell you. It's too much. I don't have enough hands and fingers and toes to count them. It's too much. But you have the freedom to kind of explore them and figure things out. But deciding what clues to follow is the hard part. Yeah, well, and that's why we're here to help you out, bud. My job is I got a lot of experience in here. Take care, Orsi. 15 years of trading and a lot of dumb stuff. Mainly a lot of dumb stuff. Not the 15 years just to give my credibility, right? Mainly my experience comes from the dumb stuff I did within those 15 years. Not all 15 years, but for a fair amount of them. So I can bring your attention to clues like what I just mentioned here with the RSI divergence, or with specific candlestick formations or structure, or the move has been made, whatever it may be, IPDE. Jason and myself and all the other experienced traders here on the platform, we can help you with clues and observations and gear you in the right direction, guide you in the right direction, where it's like, hey, you're interested in this, just be aware that if you're going to do that, make sure you watch out for that. So use the community when you have something on your mind, like, hey, I was looking into divergence. You have any advice on it? Or I'm looking into this and that. Do you have any advice? Use us to help you shorten that learning curve. That's what we're here for. George said, why just pick one or two? Going to Bud's question. Why just pick one or two and see how well it works? If it doesn't, then you move on to the next one. Yeah. That's another thing as well. Take a list of things that you like, things that meet your trading philosophy, things that come easy to you. That's important as well, right? You don't want to try something like, if you can't see hidden divergence, don't try to be a hidden divergence trader, right? Start with something simple that pops out and smacks you in the face. Ooh, I can see that, right? I started with AB equals CD patterns, blindly following them and losing money, right? Learned that the hard way. But because AB equals CD patterns were easier for me to find. I came into the chart like, you're telling me I gotta find a directional move, and then I gotta find the retracement, and then I just gotta hit copy and paste and put it onto the retracement, and it will tell me where price is likely to go? Oh, I can do this, right? And then I did it and realized there's more to it and lost a lot of money. That was an expensive lesson. But I started doing it because it was easy. Like, I knew how to copy and paste. I knew how to draw lines on a chart. It was simple for me to do. So, yeah, pick a few things that you find that you recognize, that you understand, that mesh with your philosophy, and hit the playground with them. And the things that when something has legs, you follow through on it. When something doesn't, when you get to a brick wall, and again, they're going to be fences and straw walls and stuff like that. So what I mean by a brick wall is one that you're not breaking down, you're not breaking through, right? A brick wall is one like, man, I've tried everything, I've exhausted it, I can't get it. Let's move on to something else. A straw wall or a fence, those are something you can kick down, or a door you can open up. Where it's like, you're going to run into learning curve issues where you're like, man, I'm stuck. And that's when you reach back out to advice. We do a Q&A session. You hit the chat up. We help you out. And then hopefully you find something that's going to help you break through that wall. And then we'll be here by the time you get to the next wall. And then when something has legs, you follow through with it. And the thing that had the brick wall, you don't throw it away necessarily, right? You fail. You learn something like George said, and you put it to the side. because 5 years later, 10 years later, when your knowledge has increased and you've learned stuff from other failures or other things that work, now you go back to it with a different idea. Like, wait a minute. What if I tried that and did that? Right. I always tell you guys that I did a lot of experimentation and testing on the daily chore. And although I got it to work, I didn't get it to work in a way that was good enough to make the cut in my trading. And, I spoke to a lot of traders and like, Akil, you spent 2 years testing it. I'm like, yeah. They're like, wasn't that a waste of time, opportunity cost? I'm like, no. And do you know how much I learned from failures? I learned a whole, just from trying to be creative and working the brain to get it to work. I learned so many different techniques that I use now as far as stop losses, as far as targets. I used to have one way of taking stop losses, guys. ATR, right? The same way you see it in all my trading, ATR. But using my brain to I gotta reduce my risk reward. How are other ways I can reduce my risk reward, right? Or increase my risk reward, reduce my risk, right? It allowed my brain to open up and experiment with different ways. And it was those failures from the daily chore that allowed me to get my stop loss rule for the DKC. Never would have thought about that before. Never would have thought about using Fibonacci's and stuff like that the way I did for that. So there's always value in it. You don't see the value till much later. Much later. I was talking to, I'm going to another story. I was talking to someone about autism the other day and talked about how I found so much value in a job that changed my life forever. And I just took the job because it was something that was time flexible and I needed to get a check. So you never know in life when that stuff comes. Hope you enjoyed the show. Do me a favor before you leave. Support this by hitting that like button, sharing this, and leaving me a comment. I love that you guys support so much. I love the kind words you tell me about the podcast. Keep them up. They inspire me. They also help by inspiring others who are looking for a source that they can come to on a regular basis to learn about trading and really learn about themselves as well. So I appreciate the support. Thank you. Keep it up, and I'll see you guys next episode.